Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. In the golden shimmer of a penthouse overlooking New York, Alexander Hartwell, a cold and calculating millionaire, absently flipped through his diary. Each page was filled with appointments, meetings, and dinners, but one box remained empty: love. For years, he had been searching for a companion, just for one day. Just one day to escape his loneliness, without ties, without complications. That day, in a discreet cafe in the Soho district, he crossed paths with Emily Carter. Her eyes shone with an eerie light, a sweetness tinged with a sadness that nothing seemed able to erase. She smiled shyly, almost spilling her coffee. Alexander, usually impervious to such awkwardness, felt his heart sink. He didn't yet know that this encounter, which he thought would be a simple, fleeting pleasure, would turn his life upside down. For Emily had a secret no one knew: only 1 month to live. A rare, silent, but relentless disease. And yet, facing him, she radiated, full of life and courage. Alexander thought he had found a woman for a day, but he was about to discover the one who would transform every moment of his existence. In that brief moment, fate began to weave a story where wealth could buy neither time nor true love. And Alexander was about to learn that sometimes, a single day can contain a lifetime. New York never slept, but for Emily Carter, the city sometimes seemed too noisy, too fast-paced. That morning, she had settled into her usual cafe in Soho, a small, discreet refuge where hurried passers-by didn't take the time to look at others. She leafed through a book, trying to savor each moment despite the fear that gnawed at her body. That's when Alexander Hartwell walked in. Tall, elegant, and dressed in a perfectly tailored dark suit, he seemed to belong to another world. Passers-by instinctively moved aside, but Emily, lost in thought, didn't notice the man sitting down almost opposite her. "Excuse me," he said, placing his cup on the table with a slight smile. "You haven't picked up the wrong book, have you?" Emily looked up. Her heart skipped a beat, but she forced herself to remain calm. "No. That's exactly what I wanted to read," she replied with a shy smile. He studied her face. There was something in her eyes, a depth that no amount of wealth could buy. Alexander, who was used to effortless seduction, felt an unfamiliar emotion surge through him: curiosity. And for the first time in a long time, he wanted to get to know someone, not just for a day, but to understand what she was hiding. "My name is Alexander Hartwell," he said, extending his hand. "And yours?" "Emily. Emily Carter." Their handshake was brief, but heavy with meaning. At that moment, neither of them knew that this seemingly insignificant encounter would change their destinies. Emily smiled, trying to hide the weariness etched on her face. Alexander, however, saw not only beauty, he saw a fragile, almost ephemeral light that irresistibly drew him in. As he stood up to leave, he murmured, "I hope to see you again, Emily." She didn't answer immediately. Her heart was beating too fast, as if she knew every moment with him would be precious. She didn't yet know that she would only have a few weeks to fully experience this encounter. And Alexander, thinking he had found simple company for a day, was unaware that he had just met the one who would change his life forever. In the days that followed, Alexander couldn't get Emily's image out of his mind. Every detail of her face, every shy smile, every sparkle in her eyes haunted him. He went back to the cafe, hoping to see her again, and to his great surprise, she was there, in the exact same spot. "There you are again," he said with a smile, sitting down opposite her. "I suppose you're sticking to your usual routine." "You could say that," replied Emily, a little embarrassed but amused. "And do you often come back to spy on the customers?" Alexander laughed softly, a rare sound that surprised even himself. But inside, he was beginning to feel something he had never felt before, a genuine attachment. They spent hours talking about everything and nothing. Alexander listened, fascinated by the lightness of her words, by her way of seeing the world despite the pain she hid behind her smile. Emily, for the first time in a long time, felt alive. She knew she couldn't afford to get attached, but Alexander was different. One evening, as the light of the setting sun bathed the cafe, Alexander dared to ask a more personal question. "Emily, may I ask you something?" "Of course," she replied, intrigued. "You seem fragile. But there's something in your eyes that I don't understand. What are you hiding?" Emily lowered her gaze. Her heart ached at the thought of revealing the truth. Every day with him was a gift, but also a cruel reminder that her time was running out. "It's complicated," she murmured. "I prefer that some things remain between them." Alexander nodded, respecting her silence. But he felt his instinct warn him, Emily was no ordinary woman. And this intuition began to sow a gentle but persistent unease in his heart. As she left the cafe that evening, Emily watched Alexander walk away. She knew she would soon have to reveal her secret to him, but part of her just wanted to savor these moments, however fleeting they might be. And Alexander, for his part, began to understand that this simple day he had sought out could transform into something much deeper, and painfully precious. The days passed, and Alexander and Emily spent more and more time together. Walks in Central Park, impromptu dinners, shared laughter, everything seemed natural, almost unreal. For Alexander, these moments were precious as gold, and for Emily, it was a fragile happiness, like walking on thin ice. Every step was a risk, but she didn't want to back down. One afternoon, as they strolled along the paths golden with autumn, Emily felt a sudden dizziness. She gripped the railing of the bridge overlooking the lake, breathless. "Emily?" Alexander asked, gently taking her arm. "What's going on?" She tried to smile, attempting to mask her weakness. "It's nothing, just a little dizziness, probably just tiredness," she replied. But Alexander wasn't fooled. His penetrating gaze detected the worry hidden behind her eyes. "You're not telling me everything," he said softly, almost pleadingly. Emily lowered her head, her hands trembling. She knew the moment of truth was approaching. But how could she explain that she only had a few weeks to live, that she had no future, and yet, she wanted to enjoy every moment with him? "Alexander, there's something I need to tell you," she murmured, her voice breaking with emotion. He knelt slightly to be at her level, holding her hands between his. "Whatever it is, I want to know." Emily took a deep breath, feeling the icy chill of reality seep into her chest. "I have an illness. A serious illness. The doctors, they gave me a month. Maybe less." Alexander stepped back slightly, stunned. The world around him seemed to stop. He had been looking for a woman for just one day, and now he was facing the reality of Emily's life, a time running out, precious hours slipping away like sand through his fingers. But why tell me now?" he stammered, unable to hide the anguish in his voice. Because I wanted you to know the real me," Emily said with a faint smile. "Even though time is short, I want every moment to count." Alexander felt his heart clench. He had never imagined that a day could become so crucial. He had never understood that a single moment could contain an entire life. And on that day, in the middle of a New York autumn, a new reality settled between them, one of urgency, intensity, and the possibility of love despite the passing of time. After Emily's revelation, Alexander could no longer see their relationship as a mere one-night stand. Every second became precious, every smile, every gesture, every word took on an intensity he had never known. He knew he had to do everything he could to make their final moments as beautiful as possible. "Emily," he said one evening as they stood on the roof of his penthouse, gazing at the city illuminated like an ocean of light, "I want you to enjoy everything. Every moment, every place, every dream you have. I want to make them come true with you." Emily felt her eyes well up with tears. She had never known such generosity, nor such sincerity. "Alexander, I don't want you to waste your life on me," she murmured. "My life," he said, taking her hand, "my life without you would be empty. No matter how much time we have left, I want it to count." In the days that followed, Alexander turned every moment into a miracle, He chartered a yacht for a cruise on the Hudson, booked seats for a private concert by his favorite musician, and even improvised a small picnic at the top of the Empire State Building, where New York stretched as far as the eye could see. Emily laughed, cried, lived. For the first time, she forgot the illness that was consuming her, even though Alexander saw his strength diminish a little each day. He felt every short breath, every shiver, every pain she tried to hide behind her bright smile. "You make life beautiful, Alexander," she said one evening, leaning against him. "Even though I don't have much time. I want every memory to be etched in my mind." Alexander held her close, feeling that the love he had always sought was unlike anything he had imagined. It wasn't just companionship for a day, it was a deep, irreversible, intense bond. But deep down, a fear was growing, the fear of losing her. The illness was relentless, and despite everything he could offer, time would continue its inexorable course. That night, under the starry Manhattan sky, Alexander made a silent promise: he would not let a single moment be wasted. No matter how many days passed, Emily would have a whole life, condensed into every smile, every caress, every burst of laughter. And in this promise, a love was born, vibrant and fragile, defying fate and the countdown of time. The next day, Alexander felt that time was passing faster than he had imagined. Emily, despite her brave smile, seemed more tired. Her breath was short, her movements slower. Every moment reminded Alexander of the harsh truth: their time was running out. "Emily," he said softly as they walked through the park, "I want you to tell me what you dream of doing, what you want to see before it's over." She lowered her eyes, hesitant. "Alexander, there are so many things, so many memories that I have never lived. But I'm afraid of asking too much." "There is no such thing as too much, Emily. I want everything to be possible. Even the impossible." A fragile smile appeared on her lips. Together, they began to draw up a wish list, a kind of secret notebook where every desire, every whim, every dream was recorded: visiting a private art exhibition, taking a helicopter ride over Manhattan, dining under the stars. Each idea was a challenge, an adventure, but above all, a way to etch memories that neither wealth nor time could erase. Alexander became a changed man. No more business, contracts, or pointless meetings. Every moment belonged to Emily. He booked lavish hotel suites for a spontaneous weekend getaway, rented a vintage car for a nighttime road trip, and even hired a photographer to capture their smiles in unexpected places. But despite all these efforts, the shadow of illness loomed. One morning, Emily didn't get up right away. Alexander found her curled up under the covers, pale and trembling. His heart sank. "Don't worry," she murmured weakly, "I'm just tired." Alexander knew it wasn't just a passing fatigue. He placed a hand on hers, gently squeezing her fingers. "No matter what happens, Emily, I want you to know that every moment spent with you has been more precious than all the gold in the world." She looked up at him, her tears glistening in the morning light. "Alexander, thank you, for giving me a whole life, even if it is short." That day, Alexander understood that love wasn't measured in days or years. It was measured in intensity, memories, and courage. And he knew that every second with Emily would be a priceless treasure, even as the countdown relentlessly continued. The weeks passed, and Emily gradually lost her strength. Every smile became an act of courage, every word a treasure that Alexander kept preciously in his heart. But deep down, Emily held on to one last wish, a desire she had never dared to share, until that night. They were sitting on the roof of the penthouse, enveloped by the orange light of the sunset. The city seemed calm, as if New York itself was holding its breath in the face of the intensity of their moment. "Alexander," Emily murmured, "my last thing. I want you to promise me something." "Anything," he replied immediately, his eyes fixed on her. "Anything you want." She took a deep breath, squeezing his hand. "I want you to keep living, even after I'm gone. I want you to hold on to the happiness we've created, and never let it go to waste. I want you to love me, even when I'm no longer here." Alexander felt his heart break and fill with a love deeper than ever before. He understood that it wasn't just a request, it was a testament, a promise of life. Emily. I promise you. I will live for both of us. Every moment, every memory. I will never let you disappear from my life. She smiled, a tear rolling down her cheek, and for the first time in days, her face lit up with lightness. Then let's make every remaining moment the most beautiful, she said softly. Alexander agreed. He decided everything: they would travel, create spectacular memories, and be swept away by unique experiences. A rooftop dinner overlooking the entire city, a hot air balloon ride over the parks of New Jersey, and even a secret getaway to the countryside, far from the hustle and bustle. Every moment had to be perfect, unforgettable. That night, as the lights of Manhattan twinkled like stars on Earth, Alexander realized something important: he had never loved like this, and he had never lived with such intensity. Emily wasn't just a woman he had met for a day, she had become his whole life. And as they held hands under the orange sky, time seemed to stand still. Every second counted, every breath was precious, and Alexander knew he was ready to defy the inevitable to make this last month feel like an eternity. Alexander knew that time was slipping away at an alarming rate. Every day with Emily became more precious, more fragile. But he was determined to make one of the dreams she had never thought possible come true. Alexander. I never thought. Emily murmured one morning as she woke up in the penthouse decorated for the occasion. Everything was ready for her. Don't say anything, Emily, he interrupted with a smile. This morning you're going to experience something you've never imagined. He took her to the airport, where a private jet was waiting for them for a surprise trip. Emily felt her heart race. The trip was to a place she had always dreamed of seeing but thought was unattainable: Paris. The very idea of walking along the banks of the Seine and seeing the Eiffel Tower lit up made her shiver. It's incredible, she stammered, unable to hide her tears of joy. Alexander took her in his arms, holding her close. For him, it wasn't just about fulfilling a dream, but about transforming every moment into an eternal memory. They strolled through the cobbled streets of Montmartre, savored pastries in small bakeries, and, as evening fell, admired the Eiffel Tower sparkling under the starry sky. Every glance, every smile, every burst of laughter was a victory against time, against the fate that hung over Emily. She felt alive, loved, free. Alexander, for his part, was discovering that true love wasn't measured by duration, but by the intensity of shared moments. I never would have believed it, said Emily, resting her head on his shoulder. Thank you, for everything. Thank you, he replied, for showing me what true love is. Even for just 1 month, you changed my life. This trip to Paris became a symbol of their bond, an impossible dream made real thanks to Alexander's determination and love. But deep down, they both knew the countdown continued. Every moment of happiness was precious, yet fragile, like a crystal suspended in the wind. For Alexander, this reinforced a certainty: he would never let a single day go by without making Emily smile, without creating an unforgettable memory. And for Emily, this trip was proof that, even with only a month to live, every moment could contain a lifetime. The return from Paris was silent. Emily, though radiant during their trip, was now showing signs that the illness was regaining its grip. Every breath became an effort, every step required more strength. Alexander felt his heart clench with every moment, powerless in the face of the reality of Emily's life. Alexander, she murmured one morning, sitting on the sofa, my strength is waning. I don't think I'll be able to go out as much anymore. Don't say that, he said, his voice breaking. I'm here, Emily. We'll find a way to make every moment special, no matter where we are. For Alexander, it was no longer just about travel and fulfilled dreams, but about creating memories even in the simplest of things. He transformed the penthouse into an enchanted haven: soft lighting, gentle music, carefully prepared meals, and every corner decorated to evoke their adventures. Even in the most ordinary gestures, he wanted every moment to be magical. You make everything so beautiful, Alexander, Emily murmured, breathless but with shining eyes. Even here. I feel alive. But the fear was there, constant, like a silent ghost. Alexander knew that time was passing inexorably, and every smile from Emily was tinged with sadness. He saw her strength waning, but her courage never wavered. One evening, as they were looking at the illuminated skyline, Emily placed her hand on Alexander's cheek. "I never thought," she said, tears in her eyes, "that someone could love me so much in such a short time." "Emily. I love you, more than anything," he replied, squeezing her hand. "No matter how much time passes, every moment with you is an eternity for me." The weight of the illness made every moment both precious and painful. But Alexander understood one thing: love wasn't about duration, but intensity. And even as the end approached, he wanted every breath, every smile, every tear to remain etched in their memories as a testament to their love. That night, as the city shone in the distance, Alexander made a silent decision: he would not let time steal a single memory. He would be the guardian of every moment, the protector of a life too short but incredibly full. The days passed with painful intensity. Emily was gradually losing her strength, but her spirit remained bright. Seeing his beloved weaken, Alexander decided to take a bold risk to give her one last unforgettable memory. "Emily," he murmured one evening, sitting beside her, "I have an idea, something that could make this moment eternal." "What is it?" she asked, intrigued but tired. "I want us to achieve something that no one could forget, even if time slips away," he said, his eyes shining with determination. Alexander discreetly contacted a renowned orchestra and arranged a private concert on the roof of his penthouse, under the stars, with the New York skyline as a backdrop. Violins, pianos, wind instruments, every note would be for Emily, to etch this moment into eternity. When evening arrived, Emily, overcome with emotion, felt her strength falter but her heart burst with joy. The musicians played their favorite piece, and each note seemed suspended in time. Alexander gently led her to the center of the roof, and together they danced under the stars, surrounded by music, light, and love. "It's magnificent," stammered Emily, unable to hold back her tears. "Not magnificent, perfect," Alexander murmured, pulling her close. "This moment is for us. Every breath, every smile, nothing can erase it." In that dance, the outside world ceased to exist. Illness, fear, time, everything seemed suspended. Emily felt more alive than ever before, and Alexander understood that the intensity of love could defy fate. But deep down, he knew that every note he played was also a farewell in anticipation. Every moment was precious, yet fleeting. He had to savor every second before the inevitable happened. "Alexander. I love you," she said, her voice weak but clear. "And I will always love you," he murmured, his heart aching. "No matter how much time passes, no matter what remains, you are my life." This audacious gesture, this magical evening, became the symbol of their love, a moment suspended in time, an eternity condensed into a few hours. And Alexander understood that, sometimes, the strongest love is not the one that lasts, but the one that burns intensely, even if only for a month. The final days had arrived. Emily, so radiant just a few weeks earlier, was now fragile. Every breath was an effort, every smile a battle against the pain. Alexander stayed by her side, holding her hand, refusing to let a single moment slip away without filling it with love and memories. "Alexander," she murmured, her voice weak but determined. "Thank you, for everything. For every moment, every smile, every dream come true. Emily. I love you, more than anything," he replied, tears streaming down his cheeks. "I will honor every promise, I swear." They gazed at each other for a long time, as if their eyes could hold back time itself. Emily rested her head on his shoulder, feeling Alexander's warmth and strength sustain her until her last breath. "I want you to live, even without me," she said softly. "I promise you," he replied, pressing his hand to his heart. "Your love will remain in me forever." And with a soft breath, Emily fell asleep for the last time, a peaceful smile on her lips. Alexander felt an immense emptiness, but deep down, he knew that every moment they had shared had been an eternity. Their love, though short, had been complete, intense, perfect. In the days that followed, Alexander remembered their travels, their laughter, their dances under the stars, each moment etched like a treasure. He kept the promise he had made to her, to live fully, to love deeply, and never to forget. Emily was no longer there physically, but her memory, her light, and the love they had shared had become eternal. "Thank you," murmured Alexander one evening as he looked at the skyline, "Emily, for showing me that love is not measured by time, but by the intensity of each moment." And in Alexander's heart, Emily continued to live. Every smile, every gesture, every memory became an eternity condensed into a breath, proving that even a month can contain a lifetime of love.